Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song. I'm hung up in a grave situation.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode 220 of the Rotten Reviews podcast. Thank you everyone for showing up to another new episode. I think we got a fun one for you guys today. This is a first time watch. I've been doing these a lot lately, and I'm really hoping this one is going to be good. I looked at the trailer for it, so it looks pretty good, but I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see because I haven't actually watched the movie of doing this intro yet. So, you know, that's just how we work around here. Hopefully it's good though. Of course, you can watch this movie for free on Amazon Prime if you have it. Just so you guys are aware, you know, before we do get too far in the episode. But before we do get into all the facts and stuff about the episode, just want to do a little bit of housekeeping like we do each and every single week.
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towel?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
If you guys are a new listener, thank you very, very much for showing up to this episode. I appreciate it so much. If you're a returning listener each and every single week, I appreciate it just as much. I don't know why you guys come back each and every single week to listen to me talk about movies, but I appreciate it nonetheless, and it does mean a lot. If you guys could, depending on wherever you're listening to this podcast, if you're on Spotify, if you could hit the share button, hit the star rating button, give it whatever star rating you think it deserves. I'm not going to ask you for 5 stars. If you feel like it deserves 5 stars, I appreciate it. If you feel like it deserves a 1 or 2 star, let me know down in the comments below why. You know, I'd love to hear your feedback and as to why, you know, what things you think I should improve. Essentially, is what we're getting at here. I just want to make content that people enjoy, that people come back to each and every single week. And like I said, give it whatever star rating you want it. If you're on Apple or iTunes, whatever it might be, leave a review over there as well. Let me know what your feedback. Let me know what you want to see me maybe talk about in the future. Maybe we'll do like themed months. I would love to do like a theme month at some point in time. But yeah, with that being said, whatever podcast app you're listening to this on, if you can hit that share button, that does mean a lot. It does help out a lot. It helps get the podcast out to more listeners, which is the main goal for this, of course. You know, maybe you guys are looking for a little bit extra content. If you guys are, make sure to check out all my social media links down below. You can find me at Typhon Sign on pretty much any and all social media accounts. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on Threads. I think I named most of them. But the thing that we're on a lot of, like that we post actively on, is YouTube. We've got the YouTube channel out there. So definitely go check out the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on bell notifications. That way you get notified when a new video drops or when I go live. So we have the weekly game video that drops each and every single Wednesday. I have old episodes of the podcast up. I have various art short videos up there as well if we do live streams. I've been doing a lot of live streams on YouTube as well as my Twitch account, so definitely go check both of those out. I know some people prefer Twitch over YouTube, so I try and differentiate the games. I'll stream a couple days on YouTube, stream a couple days on Twitch, you know, go back and forth. That way it's, you know, a happy medium, hopefully, of the two. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to create the community, you know, grow the community and get a bunch of like-minded people all together, so, you know, we can just, you know, have creative minds working all together as a whole. I know it probably won't ever happen. I know it's hard, you know, being a small content creator and reaching multiple people, because all the promoting sites they all want you to pay money just to try and push your thing up higher. But that doesn't actually mean anything. You know, it's not active viewers or listeners that are actually going to come back each and every week. You might get 1 or 2 out of 1,000 or whatever, however many you pay for, but we want to make an actual community where people actually want to come check the content out each and every single week. So with that being said, if you guys could hit the share button, it means a lot to me. I appreciate it. I think I've talked enough about that right now at this point in time. We just have so much content out there that you guys could, keep busy for a couple days at least, maybe a couple months. Who knows? It all depends on how fast you listen to it or watch it all. So, but with that being said, you guys are here to listen to me talk about this movie. Like I said, you can watch it free on Amazon Prime. I just want to let you guys know that again, so I don't want anyone to complain about spoilers on a movie that came out in 1994. But we're watching Red Sun Rising. It's got a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 4.3 out of 5 on Vinegar Syndrome. I didn't know they had a rating system. 71% of Google users enjoyed this movie. Initial release date was September 1st, 1994. The description, as read on IMDb: a tough Japanese detective seeks vengeance after his partner is killed by a deadly Yakuza ninja. That's essentially why I picked this movie, because I really do enjoy the Yakuzas. And when I saw it on Prime, I'm like, you know what? I've never heard of this one. I've never seen this one. So we're going to watch this. Like I said, it's from 1994. It's rated 18+. It's an hour and 39 minutes. And apparently it's a action dark comedy. I don't know where the dark comedy aspect is going to come, but I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. So a little bit more on the movie. The director for this one is Francis Meghai. I always butcher the last names, and I think that's something that's always going to happen because I'm just horrible at names. But he was the director for 1979's Dirty Money. He was also the director for 1970's Freelance, as well as he worked on 12 episodes from 1979 to 1989 of a TV show called Minder, as well as 4 episodes from 1991 to 1992 of a TV show called Lovejoy. I don't know either one of those TV shows. If you guys know them, let me know down below. I would be curious as to know what your thoughts are on them. Are they good? Is this something I should watch? I like watching old TV shows, so maybe I'll add them to the list at some point. This list is so goddamn long, I'm never going to get through it ever. This movie also has 3 writers attached to it, and the first one we're going to talk about is Robert Easter. Wow, a last name I can actually say properly without screwing up. He's best known for being the writer for 1996's Sworn to Justice. He was the writer for 1992's Out for Blood. He was the writer for 1978's The Toolbox Murderers. I remember that movie. The last movie we're going to talk about is from 1977, where he did the screenplay for it. It came before The Toolbox Murderers. It's called Supervan, for 3.9 out of 10 on IMDb. I have no idea what this movie is about, but it got added to the list as well because it's Supervan. Why not just watch it? Maybe it's a parody of Superman, for all we know. Another writer credit for this movie is Neva Friedan. Yep, back to butchering the last names. That's what we're good at. Doesn't have much to the credit. We have a movie in 1986 where she was the writer, or they were the writer. Neva, is that a female name? Is that man's name? Anyways, the writer for Sworn to Justice in 1996. They were also the writer on The Toolbox Murderers from 1978, as well as Supervan in 1977. So apparently they were writing partners, which I've heard about this thing happening back in the day. Apparently they would hire 2 young writers to work on one screenplay, and then they would still pay them the same amount as if they were paying one person. So essentially they would have 2 people doing the work, but be only paying one person, so therefore that pay would have to be cut in half just to pay the 2 people. It was a workaround back in the day for the Writers Guild, I believe. I don't quote me on that one. I just heard that on a podcast a while back, but I believe that's something that's happened pretty commonly back in the day for new up-and-coming writers. The last writer we're going to talk about is Paul Maslach. He also was the writer, he was a producer on the 1996 movie Sworn to Justice. He was the writer for 1994's Angel of Destruction, as well as the producer for 1992's Out for Blood. We mentioned that movie earlier as well. He was also the associate producer for 1992's Blood Fists 4, Die Trying. As well, in 1989, he was the executive producer for a movie called The Weirdo, which has a 4.8 out of 10 on IMDb. Might be worth adding to the list as well. I told you that, guys, this list keeps growing and I'm never going to be able to get it done ever. Probably never be able to find a copy of that movie either, but that's besides the point. Now is that part in time in the podcast where we talk about a couple of the actors from this movie. The first one we're going to talk about is Don Wilson playing Thomas Hishino, of course, the main character for this movie, actually, to be honest with you guys. He was a gang leader, apparently, in the 1995 Batman Forever movie. He was Johnny Woo in 1991's Ring of Fire. He was Johnny Woo in Ring of Fire 2 from 1993, as well as Talos, The Last Sentinel, in 2007. As well, in 1987, he played Townsend Adi in Killer Instinct, as well as he was in the 1982 movie New York Chinatown. It seems like he's done a lot of B-style movies, and I'm totally okay with that. The next person we're going to talk about, and this is probably going to be the last person we talk about in the casting, just because I want to get the podcast moving a little forward. As soon as I saw this guy was in the movie, this is one of the other factors that made me pick this movie. We have Michael Ironside in the movie. He's also best known for being Gene Rasak in 1997's Starship Troopers. He was Richard in 1990's Total Recall. He was Jester in 1986 Top Gun, as well as Daryl Revok in 1981's Scanners. I think I might have did Scanners for the podcast, but I can't remember. We're 220 episodes in now, so I can't remember every single episode I've actually done. The tagline for this movie is, Japan's toughest cop is in L.A. to track down the Yakuza's deadliest killer. So, as always, like I say before every episode, make sure to get some snacks, get comfy. This is your last call, so if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1994, this is your last chance to pause it now, watch the movie, and come back to the podcast. Or just sit back, relax, listen to me talk about the movie, and I'll either make you really want to watch the movie, or you'll just be okay with listening to me talk about it and pass on it. But this is your time to get some snacks, get some nibs, some nerds, licorice. I don't know what you like to eat. How am I supposed to know? Get some snacks, get comfy, get relaxed. If you're at work, hopefully this helps you get through the day. And if you're listening in the car, just keep your eyes on the road, please. I don't want to have, anyone get hurt listening to my stupid podcast. So, be safe, please. Anyways, that being said, we're going to get right into the movie at hand.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
from Kyoto to L.A.
Speak English?
Speak it reasonably well. Lay on him.
Oh, Captain.
Joining East and West is easier said than done.
Is this the part where we cut our stomachs open?
Excuse me, but Joe is not a name. It's kind of ninja black magic.
You don't mind if we stick to the 20th century?
This sucker's dead. This character can resurrect people, bring them back to life.
Your assassin is a master of the death touch.
First your prisoner dies, then he escapes.
I don't think our black friends will do business with us any longer.
They're on different paths to the same destination. She's looking for the truth. He's looking for the truth behind the truth.
You have to name the anger before you can tame it. Show me who you really are!
Hurt her, and I'll rip your heart out.
It's a destiny they can't stop. Red Sun Rising.
And the movie starts out with a quote, "Today is victory over yourself of yesterday." The Book of Five Rings. Miyamoto Musashi? Maybe? I don't know. 1584 to 1645. You got that classic Japanese style orchestral music playing as the intro credits start to roll in. You can already tell that's gonna be like this classic 80s, 90s style action movie that's cheesy and all over the walls, balls to the walls action. And then we just cut to a city scene in Japan somewhere, and then we see like a sunset or sunrise, and it's just a red sun, and then the title font pops up, and I love this title font. I think it looks amazing. I'm a big fan of it. And then we just cut to this like dojo looking area. It's got like a nice little lake, some well-groomed bushes and stuff. There's a little bit of waterfall and a bridge. It's a very nice, feeling aura place. That makes sense, maybe, probably not. You would just know if you were there. You'd be, relaxed and peaceful. You wouldn't have anything to worry about. unless some ninjas came up to kill you. But that's besides the point. I don't know if this is like a Yakuza hideout or what's going on, but we see this lady, bring some tea over, and then we see a bunch of guys doing some gambling, and one guy's looking at the paper. But then we see Thomas and one of the other agents, by the looks of it, outside in all black, and they're kind of like staking the place out. And the other agent guys complain that he's not hungry, he's horny, because he spends more time with Thomas than he does with his own wife at home. And then Tom's like, hey, look, fancy car's showing up. Probably the bad guy inside of it. Then inside the building, the guy that was looking at the paper pulls out a katana and starts fighting this other guy in a sword, and then he just gets sliced and diced like no problem. He had no chance at all. And Thomas and the other agents start making their way to the building to try and scope everything out. But then Thomas is, walking in slowly with his gun ready, and then one of the other ninja guys just takes his katana, cuts through the wall, and makes Thomas drop his gun. So now we have a little Japanese sword fight going on here with a bunch of different guys. I don't know who the hell they all are, but there's one guy with long black hair, who I'm assuming is one of the main Yakuza guys, just starts slicing and dicing everyone up. And then we see Thomas getting into a fist fight with a bunch of other guys on one of those peaceful bridges that we were looking at when the movie was first starting. It's like, maybe this bridge isn't so relaxing anyways, because now you got a bunch of guys all coming at you. But he's showing off his karate skills, so it's no problem. And then I didn't know that was a karate move, but he kicks that guy right in the junk. And then the one Yakuza guy that's not wasting any time with the long hair just literally takes one of the guy's arms and just like snaps it around the beam of the building. I don't know what his problem is, but then he goes up to the lady that was bringing the tea in and just, starts filling up her face and then snaps her neck like it's nothing. And the long-haired Yakuza guy takes like what looks to be a perfume bottle and starts drinking the stuff out and makes some weird faces. Like, maybe it's alcohol, maybe some like special Japanese serum stuff. Maybe it is actually perfume, that's why you're making that damn face. But then Thomas comes in and starts fighting him, but then they throw the knives down because, Thomas isn't winning that fight. And then the other guy just, kicks him in the knee, drops him down, and then just starts, kicking him in the head a couple times. Clearly old Tommy boy there isn't on the same level as this guy. And then that guy has a henchman that's going to cut Tommy's head off, but then his partner shows up, finally, and Tommy's partner shoots the henchman guy in the hand, so he drops the blade. But then the partner becomes under this trance of the long-haired Yakuza guy, and he's doing like this Mortal Kombat looking pose and talking to him while staring right at his face, and he's gonna die. And then the long-haired guy just these hand motions, and next thing you know, he's poking Tommy's partner in the chest, and like this red beam comes out of the finger, and we just see the partner just stand there, and we can tell he's gonna die within a couple minutes. And then the other two guys just take off into their fancy car again. The guy, he's not dead yet, but he goes to leave the building to shoot after the long hair guy, and then he just starts coughing up blood and falls to the ground, and he is officially dead now. And then it's like the crime scene, and they're taking away the partner's body, and then I'm assuming the Japanese police chief comes over, and he's like, Tommy, you got your partner killed there, so give me your gun there, please, okay? Enough is enough, and I'm tired of you getting people killed. And now we cut to Los Angeles, where we see someone driving this nice red convertible of some sort, and we cut to an interview where the 7 WLV News is interviewing someone, and I have no idea who they are yet. And then we see this lady showing up, and her name is Karen, and she's their main character in the movie. But apparently there's this crime scene where this guy was killed, and apparently he's seen to be someone that was helping kids on the street to get them off the street. It was another drive-by, so it seems like it was, a targeted attack. And we see this other guy, Declan, who's apparently a news reporter or maybe a detective who knows a lot of what happened in this whole area. Apparently, somebody was wearing orange is a bad thing in this scene or this area, because if you wear orange, it's like the rival gang territory color. Apparently, the guy was killed by a machine gun, and like by the sounds of machine guns are hard to get in LA for some reason. And then we see some commotion happening, and Karen and Declan go to see what's going on. And it's Ray, this one cop guy who's apparently a dickhead, and he's bothering Hector, who's the gang leader of the Orange Gang group, and he's all pissed off because one of his friends was murdered, or maybe this preacher guy might have been the friend, I don't know, or maybe it was because it happened on their territory, whatever. But Ray's a dickhead cop. He's like, hey, I got something to show you, Karen. She's like, damn, you want to show me your dick, huh? I forgot my magnifying glass at home, though. And then this news reporter is talking about how this Hobbs guy was murdered. He was only 19, and apparently he was one of the rival gang members. But apparently this preacher brought the two gang members together as a treaty, and they're working together. But now that the kid's dead, they're blaming the other gang, vice versa. And then we see this purple gang at a graveyard, mourning the death of their friend that they just buried. It's very gang territory related stuff. And then we see that long-haired Japanese guy just walking through the trees for some reason. And the purple gang leaves this one lady crying at the gravesite, and long-haired Japanese guy just goes up with one of his like shorter katana swords and pulls it out on her. And then the other gang are like waiting at the car being like, where the hell is she? What's taking her so long? So then they go back to the gravesite, and of course they find her head is now separated from her body. Then we see Thomas showing up in a taxi cab, and he just got dropped off at the precinct from the airport, and taxi cab driver's like, $100. And he's like, $100 from the airport? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, here's some yen. I didn't have time to go get it converted. My flight was late. And he's like, no, I'm not taking this money. This is fake money. And then we see one of the Japanese guys being escorted out of the police station by a bunch of officers. So then he's like, I'll pay you more money. Just follow that car, please. I'm an officer. Trust me. I know what I'm doing here. I will pay you, okay? So those cops are taking this guy to like this parking garage area where they're meeting up with Karen. Karen's like, I'm not afraid of you guys. I've seen all your movies. And then Thomas shows up, and Karen's like, hey, no farther. I gotta see your ID, okay? So he shows her his ID, which is still from Hong Kong or whatever. And she's like, I don't speak gibberish. Do you speak English? English? Do you know English? He's like, yeah, I speak English. I'm not a dickhead here. And of course, he wants to be with them because he wants to talk to the guy, because that's the henchman guy that killed his partner, or was one of the guys that killed his partner. He's not the long hair guy, but he's the guy that was getting ready to actually kill Thomas before the partner shot him in the hand. So then Thomas is like, hey, so where's your partner? You know, the one that does all the killing for you, hey, buddy? And then we see a cop with a hat on and some glasses on, and it looks like his hair's tucked up, and it's like, yeah, that's probably him right there, to be honest with you, bud. And then of course Thomas gets a little bit too close to the guy, gets on his nerve, and the guy kind of like shoulder tackles him a little bit, and does like a finger poke, and then we see the fingers turn red again, because, you know, Thomas wants the henchman guy to pretty much be like, hey, so tell me where your buddy is, and I'll work things out. You know, I'll set you up in prison, so, you know, you get some, you know, benefits while in prison. And then as they're taking the guy farther down the hallway, the guy didn't do the finger poke towards Thomas. He did the finger poke to himself and killed himself. And then we find out that Karen's now in charge, according to the captain, to keep an eye on Thomas until he decides to leave LA. And of course, she's the one that's driving the big ass Cadillac that's convertible. And Tom's like, wow, this car is huge. And she's like, yeah, that's how God wanted them to be, until you guys came around and destroyed them and make them horrible. And then they show up to this house that apparently was his partner's uncle's home, and that's apparently where he's going to be staying while he's in LA at this point in time. I'm not sure if the uncle knows at this point in time, but he's there knocking on the door, be like, hey, also Karen, can you be respectful, okay? You know, let's not be dickheads to my partner's uncle here. You know, he's a very respectable man. And the guy opens up the door, and he's not your typical Japanese guy. He's like, oh, come on, man. Thomas, give me a hug. Good to see you, buddy. The old uncle's name is Buntaro, and he brings in his two secretaries to assist the situation or to get drinks for them. And he's an older gentleman, probably like in his 50s, and he's got like two young ladies like in their mid-20s. They're skimpy dressed, being like, yeah, they help me out. They help me out with, you know, my secretary stuff. So then we see the three of them sitting around at like dinner outside, and Buntaro's like, you know, I give back to the rich, or I help the rich. These Japanese warrior statues, I make them in Little Tokyo for $12, and then I sell them for $500. Like, good plan. Money's good. I see what you're doing, old man. That's when they then start talking about the partner that died, which is Buntaro's nephew, of course. And Buntaro's asking, he's like, well, so was there anything unusual about the guy that killed him? He's like, yeah, he had like this weird power. And then we cut to the guy who's then in like this morgue checking a bunch of bodies for something. And then he's actually looking for his buddy's body, actually. But then he also goes up and kills one of the guys that's like helping him for some reason. Well, at least I thought he was helping him, maybe. But then he finds his, like, the guy who killed himself in the hallway and pulls him out and starts doing this weird, like, dance ceremony thing, and the body starts to move. So I'm not sure if the body's coming back to life or not. It's smoking a little bit. and it's making some weird faces, so I'm assuming it's coming back to life, and then he just sits up out of the dead. And then there's like this black guy that's helping them, and he comes over and sees the body sitting up, and be like, oh, holy shit. And the three of them just decide to go head to the morgue, and then they see the dead assistant down on the ground, and be like, yeah, officer, we need some assistance over here. We're at the morgue, and some shit's going down here right about now. That's when they start searching the morgue a little bit more, and then Buntoro's like, hey, over here, look in there. And we see what I'm assuming is one of the coroners dead on top of the prep table now. And then they start searching around and be like, yep. Some shit's happening because look at all the graffiti all over the place. It's gang colors. And then they hear some commotion coming from the back alley. So Thomas runs outside, and then, of course, Karen and Buntoro follow after him. And we see the gang guy getting escorted into the car. And then a bunch of the henchmen guys, the gang members, just start coming out of the woodwork. And Thomas just fights them off one by one. And of course, the henchman guy and the other guy get away. And then we see Karen, Thomas, and Buntoro in the car. And Buntoro's telling Thomas, this guy is the complete opposite of you. He's like your evil yin to your yang. And, he's like a demon. And I've already lost my nephew, and I don't want to lose you next. And then we cut to them talking to the captain, Captain Messler, who's played by Michael Ironside, who's not too happy right now at this point in time. But then again, is he ever happy? Okay, so now we find out about a little bit of the characters. Yamada's the evil ninja guy with the long hair, and apparently Jaho is the henchman guy that got killed and then got brought back to life because Michael Ironside's character, Captain Messler, is telling Thomas, your captain back in Japan is really wanting to hear the story, and I'm kicking you out. I'm sending you on a plane, and you're going away. And then Declan comes in, he's like, hi. So you're gonna have to cancel those plans because he's part of the team now, because we need to get Yamato, and Thomas is the only one that's seen Jaho, so he's the only one that knows anything about what's going on, really. So he's gonna stay here till we get everything solved. And Captain Messler keeps calling Thomas and Akita, because apparently Akitas are Japanese dogs that jump headfirst into any situation and never think about anything. And that's how he describes Thomas. And then Thomas and Declan leave the room, and Captain Messler's like, so you're keeping track of the dog, okay? I want you to stay with him at all times, keep an eye on him, and never leave his side, and make sure he doesn't get into any trouble. And of course, Karen does not like that at all. Karen meets up with Thomas. He's like, so I've been told to give you the grand tour. So on your right is an office. Do you know how to say office? And Thomas is like, yeah, and on my left is a sleeping officer who's on duty, face first, into the desk, passed out. Then we see Karen and Thomas in like the storage room where they're looking at the mugshots, and for some reason the music gets kind of like sappy sounding, and Thomas gets right up behind Karen and be like, so does it worry you to be in a dark room with a mad dog because I'm known as the Akita? She's like, I'm not worried about anything with pants. And then Karen goes on about how her dad used to work at a GM automotive plant, and apparently 1 year before he was getting ready to retire, the Japanese imports started to come in, so he lost his job. And it's like, oh, well, I'm sorry about that, I guess. What point does this have to do with anything? We see Karen and Thomas going to this Iceman hideout, or hangout, I should say, because apparently one of Karen's snitches gave them a clue. If they go to this diamond club, there's going to be a meeting between the gangs, and they're going in just to try and, look things over to see what's going on. Not try to get in any trouble, of course, but probably they will get into trouble. And of course, Thomas is like, what? I'm just going to go in the club and blend in with the crowd. They're just going to think I'm one of them. And of course, he opens up the front door to go into this club, and he's not going to blend in at all because he's half white and Japanese, and they're all African Americans inside this club, aside from Jaho, who's having a meeting with the member of the gang. I forget their name already. Of course, Thomas goes up to the bar, and he asks for a beer, and he goes to grab the beer from the bartender because she gives him one, and then one of the guys there just takes the bar and is like, nah, you ain't having it. So then he grabs it back and smashes it over the guy's head, and then next thing you know, he's just fighting a bunch of different gang members in this bar all over the place, and he's just beating them with pool sticks and everything else that you can find. And then this one gang member comes up to Thomas to fight him one-on-one. He's doing like some breakdance moves, and Thomas is kind of confused at first. He's like, what the hell are you doing? And then he gets like a kick in the face, and then Thomas gets pissed off, so then he just starts kicking this guy around like it's no problem. And then out of nowhere, Yamada comes up behind him, and Thomas just clocks him with a back elbow. And he has a flashback to, Yamato killing his partner. So then we see Yamato doing the finger poke to the back of Thomas. And then out of nowhere, Karen comes in with a gun, be like, freeze! You guys want to all be charged? I don't think you should move. I might shoot again. And as Karen's getting ready to pull Yamato and Jaho into custody, Yamato does this weird smoke screen effect. And next thing you know, they're outside getting into a car and driving away. And two of the Iceman guys are getting into a car to chase after Yamada and Jaho, and they follow them into this parking garage, and they see the car, and it's empty now. So they take after what they think the direction they went in, but then we see this blue free candy van just driving out of the parking garage, and of course Yamato and Jaho are inside that van now, because they just had a free candy van just stashed in the parking lot, or they stole it, one of the two. And then we see Thomas and Karen going back to the uncle's place, and they knock on the door, and as soon as the uncle opens the door, Thomas just crashes through the doorway, and the uncle's like, so he met the assassin again, huh? She's like, yeah, he did. He's like, okay, well, we might have enough time to save him. Let's see what we can do. Now we see Thomas is awake again, but now he's naked in an ice bath, and Karen's trying to talk to him as he's got a towel over his, private spot, and she's having a great laugh about it because he's being all shaky and nervous, and he's like, can we not have this conversation right now while I'm trying to heal? And then the uncle comes in with some more freezing water, and he starts freaking out. He's like, I'm freezing already as it is. And the uncle says, we need to complete the training that you started when you're younger. And Tom's like, no, I remember those, torture sessions you call training. He's like, either you drink this serum now or you're going to die. Drink it now, and we need to continue the training because this assassin is going to kill you because he's the devil and you are nowhere near strong enough to take him on. So now we see the Iceman's Camaro that was chasing down Yamato driving, and then the van comes out behind them, and apparently, I don't know why, the gang member's getting all scared because he can't get away from the van even though he's in a Camaro compared to an old school free candy van. But then he pulls off to the side to shoot at him, and Yamato gets out with a goddamn rocket launcher and just blows the goddamn gang member's car up, being like, nice try, bud. And then we see the uncle getting mad at Thomas because Thomas is beating up a dummy, but he's not doing a really good job at it. He's like, where's your focus? Where's your your power? What are you doing? You gotta do a lot better job than this if you want to fight the demon guy. Apparently the uncle's making Thomas make a 2-finger gun motion with the one hand. He's like, I want you to try and focus your power. You had the water in your palm. Try and use it to push me back. And of course nothing happens. He's like, you suck right now. But then the uncle starts, doing some motions. He's like, all right, Thomas, hit me. He's like, nah, I don't want to hit you. He's like, come on, hit me now. So then Thomas goes to hit him, but then he gets a shockwave and gets thrown back into the pool. He's like, see, told you gotta have a little bit more focus. And apparently, a lot of this skill requires him to tame his anger, and Thomas doesn't seem too happy about that, but apparently the uncle says that he knows Thomas has a special power since he was a kid, and unlike his enemy, his hands can be used to destroy stuff, but as well heal things as well, like himself. And then we cut inside another church where we see another preacher or priest is now dead and tied up to a cross inside of the church. And the Mexican gang is not happy at all. He's like, you know what? We're going to go to war. We're going to kill these Iceman guys. We're going to kill them all because I'm sick and tired of this shit. Understandable, of course. Of course, it's not the Iceman actually doing the killing. It's actually Yamato doing the killing because he's trying to set the two gangs up against each other to make his life a little bit easier. Karen tries to go calm down the gang leaders, be like, you know what? You got to calm down, if you do this, it's not going to make anything easier. You're going to get a lot of kids, maybe a lot of old people killed. And then, a couple of gang members get a little bit out of hand. So then Thomas has to, step in, do a little bit of, settling the situation, taking out a couple guys. And then he pulls his gun out. He's like, the gang is like, hey, you can kill us, but it ain't going to make things easier, man. You're just going to die. So then they come to a mutual ground to, understand each other, kind of. And of course, as Thomas and Karen are leaving that situation, getting back in the car, we then see from the other side of the alleyway, the blue van is now leaving the area, and it's been watching them the whole time. But then they didn't really know at all, because they've never seen the blue van until now. And then we cut to Thomas, who's training with the uncle, and then the uncle blindfolds Thomas and then lights a candle. And Thomas is now able to blow the candle out by just shaking his head down. And then we see the uncle has Thomas blindfolded again. And he's going around hitting him with a candlestick everywhere, and Thomas is trying to block it, but he never knows where it's coming from. So his senses aren't fully up there like they should be. Of course, this is all just set up to go into, your typical action movie workout montage. Show our hero becoming the best version of himself so that he can take on the evil of the movie. Then we cut to where the councilman is having his meeting, or he just got off the phone with somebody, and then he's like, Dolores, give me some donuts, some plasma, some something. I'm really tired. And then we see Dolores hanging up the phone after hearing what councilman wanted. And then, of course, Yamato's there bringing her a rose and then starting to feel up her side of her face, and we could just assume that he's going to snap her neck. So then where Karen and Thomas are going, they notice the blue van finally, but they see one of the Icemen coming out of it, and they remember him from the morgue apparently. And then they start running to where they're going, and then of course, Thomas gets into a martial arts fight like he would, because that's what he's going to do in this movie. And of course he has no problem kicking the shit out of these two guys. And then Yamato just walks into the councilman's office like it's no big deal. And there's two bodyguards get up to, try and stop him. But of course Yamato just, drops both of them like they're nothing. And of course Yamato puts the councilman in a rear naked choke and snaps his fucking neck. We cut to Karen and Thomas who are fighting random bad guys in the stairwell as they're trying to make it farther up into this building to get to where the councilman's office is. And then we cut to the window by the councilman's office, and we just see a ragdoll body just getting chucked right out the window. And then of course we see Thomas fighting some other gang members inside the office. And then this random gang member comes with a shotgun and just cocks it. And Thomas is like, nah, I'm just gonna kick that gun right out of your hand as you shoot it off. And these gang members are like one hit and they're done. And then one of the gang members gets up and grabs the shotgun again. So Thomas is like, oh, come on, Karen, we gotta go. So they both jump out of a window on like the 8th floor up above, and they land into a dumpster below this window. But then when they're getting out of the dumpster, below is the Senate guy who's dead on the ground, and then the Iceman shows up. He's like, this is your fault. It's like, no, we showed up after, we even jumped out the window. We didn't die when we jumped out it, but, he was dead. And then we have Karen talking to Captain Meltzer, being like, you know what, Yamato's trying to sell guns to these gang members, and we think there's some other detectives in on them. And of course, Captain Meltzer doesn't believe her at all. He's like, all these detectives and nobody can figure that out, and you're the only one that knows anything about it? I don't think you're right, Karen. We see Thomas training with Buntoro again, and Buntoro's relaxing on a chair, so Thomas tosses him this like little piece of wood or something, I'm not sure what it was, but burns Buntoro's hand, and it actually scars his hand, because now Thomas is getting stronger with his power. He's able to heat things up apparently, and catch Buntoro off guard, so hopefully this will work against Yamata, whatever his name is, that guy. And we see Buntoro's hand is scarred, but then, Thomas is like holding his hand, and then by the time Thomas leaves, Buntoro's hand is actually healed up. He's like, kid's actually got it. He actually knows what he's doing. We see Thomas and Karen in the bar, talking about what's going on, and Karen lets Thomas know that she's been suspended for 30 days because she was speaking her mind too much to the captain. And then dickhead Ray comes over because he's a pervert, and he's, making the stereotypical faces at Thomas, making fun of him. And then they come into a game of darts where Thomas says he can, shoot 10 arrows bullseye blindfolded before Ray can do anything, essentially. And of course, he's telling Ray to get back because he's blindfolded. He's like, come on, you gotta keep going back. Keep going farther back, keep going. And he actually makes Ray back up to a wall, and he throws 3 darts. One dart goes beside one ear, one dart goes beside the other ear, and the last dart goes between his legs. And he's like, oh, well, so I guess he was right. Thomas bet me that he can make you pee and not even touch you. And, look, you're pissing yourself there, Ray. We see Karen letting Thomas drive her big-ass Cadillac, and they come to this secluded area. It's still in the city, but it's kind of like Makeout Point kind of deal. And he's like, oh, this is a really nice place. You can see the city. How did you find this place? She's like, someone dropped a body here a couple years ago. Figured it'd be a nice place. Then we cut and see them in bed together, and we then see Yamada is inside the home with them, and he's doing some weird finger motions over top of Karen, and Karen kind of wakes up but doesn't actually wake up, but she rolls over and cuddles with Thomas, and that allows Yamada to grab this necklace that he's been after. And then the Hispanic lady randomly walks in asking for Karen, and we hear Karen's voice, and then someone walks out of the shadows and she thinks it's Karen, but it's actually Yamada with a razor blade. And next thing we know, we see Thomas waking up randomly, having like a bad dream, bad nightmare. He's still naked, and Karen's already fully dressed. And of course, now we know what Yamato actually took Karen's dad's pocket watch that she's had for years, of course, because that's the last memory she has of him. And she's wondering where she lost it. She's like, oh, well, maybe it's in the car. Maybe I lost it at the office. I'm going to go look to see if I can find my dad's pocket watch, because I really need to find it again. See, Thomas sitting down with Buntoro. He's like, I had a dream about the assassin last night. And Buntoro's like, no, he was here. It was no dream. He pulls up his bird's cage, and we find the dove inside is feet up, dead. And then Tom's like, the watch, that's how it went missing. Karen finds the Hispanic lady dead on the couch, and then she goes to use the phone to call for, backup. And then we see Ray come at the gun, being like, hang up the phone now. And we find out that Ray has her watch. She's like, how did you get that? And he's like, you had it on you when you killed her. Then Ray's partner comes in, and he gets shot in the back of the head. Ray gets shot in the back of the head by the partner, because the partner's like, hey, your fingerprints are on that gun. Yeah, it's your gun, and your gun's going to be proof that you shot Ray. So this is where the whole incident's going to happen, because Ray's partner has been working with Yamada the whole entire time. And of course, Yamada comes in and starts putting some weird looking trans on Karen. And next thing you know, we see Karen bent over her desk as Yamada's getting closer and closer to her. And then Thomas shows up, and he's like pressing the button for the elevator, but the elevator is not showing up. So he's like, freak, I'll take the stairs then, I guess. And of course, Thomas runs into Yamada and Karen in the stairwell, and Yamada's like, hey, you be a good little boy, and maybe I'll let her live a little bit longer as I start filling up her butt. And Yamada wants Thomas to finally show him how strong he actually is. He's like, if you hurt her, I'm gonna rip your heart out. And that's when Yamada then does like the finger pokes to the back of Karen and walks away, and he gets back into his free candy blue van. We now see Karen back at Buntoro's, and she's laying face down in the bed, and she's not moving at all. And Tom is like, you gotta help me, you gotta heal her. He's like, I know the knowledge to do it, but I don't actually have the power to do it. Thomas, you're the only one that has the actual power to be able to fully heal her and bring her back. And then Thomas's fingers start to glow blue, and then we see Karen's back looks all sweaty for some reason. I don't know why, but he's healing her, and next thing you know, we see her waking up, and she's apparently been out healing for 12 hours now. And then one of the Mexican gang leader shows up. He's like, so is she doing okay? The cops think that she killed the other guy there, but I know she didn't do it. Hector, of course, that's what the gang leader's name is. He's telling Thomas, he's like, if you can't stop Yamato from giving the Iceman more weapons, we're gonna have to do our own thing to get more weapons, and I don't want to cause any more damage or pain to the city. So if you could go to the rendezvous point where the meeting is and get this all situated and sorted out, we'd be appreciate it. Then we see Thomas meeting up with Declan, and they're going into the meetup point to try and take care of the gangs. But of course, Declan's playing for the other team, because the gang members then jump Thomas and hold him back. And Declan's been playing for the other team the whole damn time. Declan's just like, it's just a few agents and FBI and cops all just looking to get paid. We're not prejudiced. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Chicano, we're gonna do whatever happens or needs to be done to get our pay. And then as the gang members are holding back Thomas, Yamada shows up and starts hitting him a couple times, being like, I want to actually take this one nice and slow. I want him to actually beg for death, and then by the time he begs for death, maybe then I'll actually kill him. But then Thomas gets free from the guards, and he starts fighting back towards Yamato and the other gang members, and then Hector and his gang actually starts showing up and starts, helping out Thomas as best as possible. We see Thomas just beating up random gang member after gang member as he's on his way to Yamato, who's also fighting other random gang members from the good guy side, I guess you could say. It's kind of funny, this one guy comes up against Thomas and does like this weird looking kick move, and then Thomas just blocks the foot and just gut punches him and drops the guy like it's no big deal. And then Captain Messler comes in. I'm not sure if he's a good guy or not, because he then has a shotgun and he whacks Declan with it and drops him to the ground. He's like, I hate feds. And then we finally get our showdown between Yamada and Thomas, and Thomas is having a flashback to his partner dying at the beginning of the movie, and that gives him enough power and energy to fight back at Yamada, and he's actually winning for a while, and then Yamada drops him down to the ground for a few seconds at least. And we see some slow-mo karate moves between Yamada and Thomas as each other is blocking each other's other move like every other second, and then Thomas is like, what, I got the upper hand here, I'm gonna beat you. Then Yamada's getting pissed off because Thomas is winning. So he does like this Super Saiyan move where black smoke comes up and there's a little bit of flames, but then Thomas just punches through it and he's actually hitting Yamada, and Yamada looks like he's getting ready to take the fall. Then Jaho sneaks up behind Thomas and gets ready to stab him in the back. But then Karen shows up and shoots Jaho and kills him. And then Yamada looks back being like, how are you still alive? She's like, you never seen a ghost before, huh? Have you? And then Thomas is like, yo, he's mine. And he starts to choke out Yamada and he drops him to the ground. But then Karen's like, Thomas, you gotta stop. You can't be like him. And then they hug, of course, because Thomas hugging Karen because he loves Karen. But then Yamada gets back up and goes to lunge at them. So then Thomas does the red finger poke to Yamada's chest, and then he just drops to the ground. And we see blood just pouring out of his mouth. And now everything's settled, and we're back at Buntaro, and Captain Messler's there. A bunch of other people are all there. They're all having a pool party, just being happy about what they accomplished. And then Karen's like, I want to pass this on to you, Thomas. It's time that I let go of it. I let go of my father's pocket watch, and I feel like it's best if you take it. And then we have Karen showing Thomas how to slow dance. And she's like, you just gotta relax. It's like moving meditation. Everything will be A-okay. And then the music starts to play. And it's actually a song that has the lyrics Red Sun Rising in it. So I'm not sure if that's the title, or if it was made for this movie, or if it was made beforehand. I don't know anything about it. But the outro credits start to roll, and that's the end of the movie. And I gotta say, on the Rotten scale, out of 10 on this one, I'm gonna give it a solid 6.5. Let's do 6. I think 6 out of 10's decent. The acting's fairly well. Michael Ironside isn't in the movie all that much. He's probably in it for a good 20 minutes throughout the whole thing, I would say. That's take an educated guess. But I think it's a nice action movie, and I like it. I like these cheesy style action movies with the the karate and everything in it. I don't know how it's a dark comedy by any means. I guess there's some comedy to it, but not as much as they kind of make it sound like when you're reading the IMDb page. But it's their typical 90s action movie with karate and fancy flashy moves. So if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely give it a watch. I'm happy I watched it. The Yakuza side of things isn't fully there. They don't really talk about it too much. I would watching this and not knowing. I would never know that there's anything Yakuza related in this movie at all, because I don't think they really ever mention it, to be honest with you. I think they just kind of put that in the description just to kind of push the movie out to people that like me, because that's the only reason why I watched it, I'll be honest, because it said it's Yakuza related. So I understand it. It is what it is, but a fun movie nonetheless. Solid 6 out of 10 on the Rotten scale. So definitely go check it out. And that brings us to the point where we gotta pick what we're gonna watch next week. Alright, so this is gonna be another first time watch. This one was suggested because we watched Red Sun Rising, of course. This one's from 1995. We're sticking with the Yakuza because this time around we're watching American Yakuza from 1995. An undercover FBI agent has risen through the ranks of the Yakuza and now finds himself caught in a war between the Yakuza, the mob, and the FBI. Sounds interesting. Looks kind of interesting. I watched the trailer quickly, so hopefully it's going to be a fun one. We'll have to wait and see till next week. You can watch it for free on Amazon Prime, so definitely go check it out there if you want to watch the movie before the podcast episode drops next week. If not, just wait and listen to me talk about it next week. As always, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band Blood Opera. All their links are down below. Find them on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, and of course Spotify. Definitely go like their music over on Spotify, share it, all the other fun stuff. And as always, you can find all my links down below at Typhonstein. We're on pretty much all social media accounts. We're on X, we're on Threads, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have the weekly videos dropping on the YouTube channel. I said that a little bit backwards, but whatever, it's fine, I'm tired.
But yeah, go check out the YouTube channel where we drop the weekly gaming video every single Wednesday. I have very short videos over there as well, and we do live streams on YouTube as well as Twitch, so go check out both of those as well. If you're on watch on either one, just hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, turn on the bell notifications if you're on YouTube. That way you get notified when we drop a new video or go live. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
miseria